Hi, I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. My channel is dedicated to helping victims of narcissistic abuse get free and stay free. About an hour ago, I posted a video about a revelation I had about taking some, responsibility for what happened in the relationship. Not necessarily what happened in the relationship, because I'm certainly not assuming any responsibility for the creature's actions, but I did stay. And like many victims, I was hoovered back many times. They say 7 is an average, but I've always said I probably went back many more times than that. I would leave, I would get free, my life would start to get better, and I'd get hoovered back. And back I'd go, and things would fall apart very, very quickly, and I'd do that over and over again. So, at some point, you got to recognize, hey, Kim, you played a role in that. I'll be honest, 3 years out, I feel great. My life has improved in ways I never imagined. And I really, at this point, want to kind of kick my healing over the finish line. And I started looking at ways I could, really make a bold jump as far as healing goes. I mean, don't think I don't have adrenal fatigue. Don't think, I still don't have night terrors sometimes, or post-traumatic stress disorder. I self-isolate. I certainly carry some of the baggage from that abusive relationship. There's no denying that. That is a fact of my life. But I thought, if I could take some responsibility for my role in it, maybe that would help to liberate me. And it certainly has made me feel much more liberated from the abuse. It takes what feels like a situation completely beyond our control, and it puts some control right in my hands, and I really, really like that. Now, I started thinking about other places where I took control, and I think for all of us, we really feel like the situation is hopeless, it's dire, it's desperate, it's grave, we're losing our minds, we're never going to be the same. We cannot restore our lives, and all of these comments that we let play over in our head really do leave us extremely disempowered. But when I look back, I know there were places, areas, times where I was absolutely in control. For example, the day I decided to leave. His mask fell off. I knew I was done, and I became 100% committed to getting out of that relationship once and for all. Now, I've said this many times, my exit strategy took me 7 months. And 7 months it was, but the day came and I was out of there. And taking that step to not only end the relationship once and for all, and I mean done. I knew it was over. I, at that point, said, never again will I ever come face to face with this creature, and I never have. I knew that I had to leave the area, because staying in the immediate area, put me in immediate harm's way, because he had, unlimited access to me. So I cut off any access, and I moved from Medicine Hat, Alberta to southern Saskatchewan, right on the Montana border. So he had no access to me anymore. I took responsibility for that. I took responsibility for getting me, my kids, my dog, my belongings safe. Done deal. And I'll tell you, that felt really great. Now, pretty shaky in the early days, but I'm going to tell you, there was a foundation building, a foundation that implied, I can have some respect for myself. I can put some boundaries in place. I can end this horribly abusive thing. I have the power to do that. And making that decision to leave certainly put the ball in my court. Now, another one, of course, for me was no contact. Early on, when I left the narcissist, I had no idea at all what had happened. I mean, I was physically ill, mentally exhausted, spiritually broken. My head was spinning. I was sick in all aspects of my life, financially ruined, and everything felt so hopeless and so beyond my control. And though I didn't understand no contact, I had come to recognize that him being able to contact me caused me to get, back involved with him. So though I really didn't understand what was going on, I didn't know what the game was, I had no comprehension whatsoever of what the rules of the game were, I had come to recognize that communicating with him always ended badly for me. So I went no contact. I blocked him on all social media. I blocked him every way I could. He couldn't contact me by phone. He couldn't text me. He couldn't creep me on social media. And that in itself, though I really didn't know that I was going no contact with a narcissist, I knew that I had created a more protected space for me to be in. You know the saying, you do the same thing over and over again expecting a different result? Yeah, the definition of madness, right? And, I'd kind of come to recognize that at the very least. I would leave the portal to communication open. He would contact me, I'd go back, and I wasn't doing that. So I knew I had to try something different. And taking the responsibility for cutting him off, closing that portal, really did empower me. And if you're still questioning whether or not you can do it, I guess I too felt like it was going to be hard. Like I was losing something or giving something up. But at that point, my life was in such shambles, I really had nothing to lose. So going no contact really did empower me. It kicked the ball in my court, and I needed to feel a little bit in control of my own life. So assuming responsibility for accepting what this creature is, assuming responsibility for getting the heck out of there, assuming responsibility for going no contact, recognizing that yes, I saw red flags. I saw burning flags. Giant red burning flags. And on many, many, many occasions, I ignored them. But this time, I saw the red flag, and I took the responsibility for what I believed I needed to do as a result of seeing this giant flaming red flag of destruction. And it's all about taking responsibility. And when you take responsibility, it gives you the ultimate power. I didn't understand what was happening at the time, but coming to the realization that it was over, well, I was the one executing the final discard. I was in total control, and though I didn't recognize it, I certainly see it now. And many people write to me and ask me, Kim, how have you been able to heal? And I think without even realizing it, I was taking responsibility. The last tile, I said, assuming responsibility for what the creature was. I didn't mean that. What I meant to say was assuming responsibility for acting on what I had come to recognize him as. The day his mask fell off, I came to recognize that I was standing toe-to-toe with something absolutely vile. And I don't want vile in my life. So what I really should have said there was, I had come to recognize that this was not for me. I really didn't want to be living in a situation where I was constantly stomping out fires, constantly afraid, constantly explaining away his lies about me, constant allegations that I was cheating on him or, I was stealing his money. Of course, now in retrospect, I certainly understand that those were confessions, not actually allegations about me. That's really what the gaslighting projection is all about. They're telling you what they're doing to you, not really accusing you of anything. But as I recognized, he was horrible. He was simply horrible. And though I didn't understand, what was going on, I knew I didn't want that in my life. So I really had to take responsibility to act on what was becoming extremely apparent to me. The big one was really executing the final discard. So many times I had, just felt so abandoned, discarded, kicked to the curb. I felt so worthless, so useless. And when I ended that relationship, when I went no contact, though I didn't understand at the time, what I had actually done was I executed the final discard. This creature no longer had any power over me. I was done. He was out, and that was the end of it. And that in itself is so empowering. I think when I look back on all the times I've been discarded, and I'm sure many of you have got, stories of absolute heartbreak and despair, that feeling of utter abandonment, like you were so useless and so worthless that, this thing, this entity that you just love so much had the audacity to just poof, kick you, to the side, replace you. Done with you, on to the next victim. I mean, that feeling was so disempowering and, left me feeling absolutely desperate and brokenhearted. But when I took control of the final discard, wow, was that ever empowering. I think at the time I also had a bit of a revelation, as I was kind of maneuvering my way very clumsily through my exit strategy and my departure and going no contact and executing, the final discard. I think something else was going on at that time. I was becoming aware of something, and when you look at someone's past behavior, especially when it's a narcissist or sociopath or psychopath, any of the cluster Bs, when you look at that looping behavior, that repetitive looping behavior, I think I was becoming aware that a person's future behaviors could probably very likely be determined by their past behaviors. So I had given up hope that he would ever get better. I had relieved myself from a responsibility I'd put on myself, which was to try and love him well, try and heal him, try and help him. I think unknowingly, subconsciously maybe, I'd come to recognize that I could predict his future behaviors by his past behaviors, and based on the past, I didn't want that in my future. I've got so many things I want to talk about, so I'm going to end this video now with this. You have far more power than you recognize. You have not yet come to realize how much power you really have in this situation. I, just like you, was suicidal. I was physically ill, mentally ill, spiritually. I was absolutely drained. When we make references to these things, you don't call them soul vampires. This is for real. I felt like my soul had been sucked through my nose. I mean, I felt absolutely like a deflated balloon, like all the air, all the life, all the drive, all the ambition, everything had been sucked out of me. But day by day, step by step, my God, has my life been restored in ways. I'm absolutely rejoiceful. I am so thankful to God for helping to pull me through this, and truly through my faith in God. I do believe it's been God this whole way that's been saying to me, hey, there's a little bit of power over there. You rush over and you go pick that power up, and there is a lot of power. You can come to accept that what you've been dragged into is bad, and you can make that sound decision for yourself. Hey, I don't want this in my life. I don't want to live like this. You can make that decision. You can put boundaries in place. You can end it. You can go no contact. You can cut this thing off and never have to hear from it or look at it again. Yeah, they start up sock puppet accounts, but you know what? When someone calls you from a number you don't recognize, don't answer it. Done deal. You can take total control of the final discard. You own that. If you decide to pick that ball up, that's yours. You own the final discard if you are the one who discards the narcissist. You don't have to sit there waiting, for them to discard you and feeling bad about it. Discard them. Now you're in control. I have found a tremendous amount of self-pride, self-worth, dignity in taking control of the things I can control. Guys, I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. I love you lots, and I hope you're having a great narc-free day.